Huge scandal, the greatest Twitter storm in history. Millions are outraged, hundreds of thousands of comments. For the first time in history, literally everyone can reply to Elon Musk that he's a douchebag and gather 100,000 likes more than Elon himself. What happened? Well, yeah, you guessed it right. We're here because Elon Musk recently tweeted some very stupid things about Ukraine.
Elon Musk, Ukraine-Russia peace.
Elon has been very helpful from the beginning of the Russian war against Ukraine. He supported Ukrainians by activating Starlink, which helped Ukrainian armed forces to preserve communications, despite Russian attempts to destroy them. It made a huge difference. But while he gave Ukrainians devices that helped them not to lose the internet connection, Elon Musk lost the connection with reality.
Cheese is amazing.
Oh, sorry, wrong tweet. Cheese is amazing though. The genocide of Ukrainians is not.
I still very much support Ukraine, but I'm convinced that massive escalation of the war will cause great harm to Ukraine and possibly the world.
And to help Ukraine, Elon Musk started a revolution in peace negotiations, proposing Ukrainians to surrender. Here's a list of Musk's demands for Ukraine, not for Russia.
Ukraine-Russia peace. Redo elections of next regions under UN supervision. Russia leaves if that is will of the people. Crimea formerly part of Russia, as it has been since 1783, until Khrushchev's mistake. Water supply to Crimea assured. Ukraine remains neutral.
The man was so afraid of escalation that he triggered the World War of tweets.
Also worth noting that a possible, albeit unlikely, outcome of this conflict is nuclear war.
By the way, like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel before the Russian nuclear strike destroys everything you love and support, because fucking Ukrainians wanted to leave. Elon Musk is not just a dude on Twitter, he's one of the most influential persons on earth, and apparently he just wanted to demonstrate this to himself, to tickle his overblown ego. Nevertheless, he said some incredibly stupid shit that endangers millions of people. And here's a short guide on how not to make yourself look like an idiot when talking about Ukraine.
Redo elections of next regions under UN supervision. Russia leaves if that is will of the people.
Elon Musk suggests that Ukraine would redo the referendum on the next regions under UN supervision, and in case people vote against Russia, then Russia just leaves it. Oh really? I want to live in Elon's universe, where the robber on the street can leave you untouched if you just vote against it. Unfortunately, in the real world, the robber always vetoes your choice. Also, you cannot redo fake elections that actually didn't happen. Those happened only in Elon's imagination and Russian TV. There's war out there, the brutal Russian occupation, which includes mass murder, rape, torture, concentration camps, genocide, and destruction of whole cities. Should 100,000 people killed by Russian bombs in Mariupol vote? Or maybe children kidnapped from Ukraine to Russia would vote? Or should those who had to flee from occupation and persecution vote? Here's a question from a real Ukrainian soldier who lost his mother in Mariupol.
And my mother, who was killed by Russian soldiers in the yard of her house in Mariupol, how should she vote? My son's classmate who died in the drama theater, along with her parents and younger brother, will she be able to vote?
Also, if you want a referendum recognized by everyone, Ukraine had one. In 1991, 90% of Ukrainians voted for Ukraine's independence. Not to live in the USSR or in Russia, they chose to be in Ukraine. And Russia also recognized the vote. You can read about it in fucking Wikipedia. Dear Elon, you can buy Wikipedia to read this article in any language. Just don't buy Twitter, please. What's next? Oh, fucking great. Elon suggests that we recognize the annexation of Ukrainian territories because they were part of Russia from 1783 until, as he calls it, Khrushchev's mistake.
Crimea formerly part of Russia, as it has been since 1783, until Khrushchev's mistake.
And Elon Musk was a part of a bunch of calm at some point. But we don't talk about sending him back to a guy's penis because someone is threatening with nuclear weapons. Aren't we? And why suddenly 1783 then? Why don't we give it back to the Ottoman Empire? I don't know. Why don't we give California back to Spain? Or Russia? Russia had its elements north of San Francisco around this time. Let's give SpaceX to Russia as well. And I don't know, I guess I have some change in my pockets. Crimea is part of Ukraine, and Russia recognized it in 1991. And then President Putin personally recognized Crimea as a territory of Ukraine, and Ukraine as a sovereign state within its borders.
Крым не является никакой спорной территорией. Россия давно признала границы сегодняшней Украины.
But then, Russia decided to start a war to give their people something more than their ordinary boring life, because they wanted victories, they wanted adrenaline from domination, they wanted to rule the world, so Russia started to fight countries around, invading Georgia, threatening Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia and Finland, and then brutally attacking Ukraine. The world just ignored it and let Russia do its dirty thing. And Russia did not stop in Crimea. They occupied parts of Ukraine near the southwestern Russian border. For 8 years, the West has been doing everything to stop Ukraine from fighting against Russia, implementing Elon Musk's plan. After 8 years of peace negotiations, Putin attacked the whole of Ukraine with ballistic rockets, and now he threatens with nuclear strikes.
Water supply to Crimea assured.
It's funny that Elon Musk knows about the problems with the water supply in Crimea, but doesn't know about the problems of the native people of Crimea. And those are not Russians or Ukrainians. Those are Crimean Tatars who still suffer ethnocide. Crimean Tatars are subjected to the ethnic cleansing in Crimea. Hundreds of thousands of Russians migrated to Crimea to replace Tatars and Ukrainians who had to flee. Crimean Tatars are making their own combat battalions to fight against Russian aggression, and they are fighting on the Ukrainian side. Dear Elon, there is also a wiki page about the Crimean Tatars who were deported by the Russians from Crimea previously and were jailed right after the Russian occupation. Please do some basic research.
Ukraine remains neutral.
And yes, my favorite, Ukraine remains neutral. This, my friends, is a typical marker of someone who either doesn't know anything about the topic or is full of shit. Because Ukrainian neutrality has nothing to do with this war. Ukraine was neutral by its constitution when Russia started the war in 2014, occupying Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine. And Ukraine was far from getting NATO membership in 2022, unfortunately. And once again, Russians whine about NATO all the time, but they don't care about it. The only threat from NATO is that Russians cannot invade and commit genocide in the NATO country. Russia is like a serial rapist. It is provoked by a lonely young girl on the street at night, and not by a giant beefed up dude who could protect her. Musk's statements provide the wrong image of the conflict. People who read these peace proposals can think that Ukraine oppresses some people on its own territories, and therefore Russia is a liberator and not an aggressor. Now Musk's words are generously spread by Russian propaganda. Putin approves. The Russian propaganda machine uses this shit on a full scale, and that is a disaster. Because if such an aggressive anti-Ukrainian position becomes mainstream, Ukraine won't get the military assistance it needs to protect its people, and then the whole country will be occupied, and millions of people will be killed in concentration camps, and Putin will prove to the world that Hitler-style conquest is doable again, and not only other Russian neighbors would become a quick target, the whole planet will be fucked. And as you might expect, after you share your incredibly stupid and uneducated political opinion to the 100 million audience on Twitter, you get some reaction. Andrei Melnik, the former ambassador of Ukraine to Germany, gave the shortest answer to Musk.
Fuck off is my very diplomatic reply to you, Elon Musk.
Of course, not everyone was so short, and thousands of people from all over the world tried to explain to Musk why he's needed. Their explanations began to gain tens, hundreds of thousands of approving reactions. Musk is simply the world's best online open mic venue.
Paul Mazzaro, Ukraine-Russia peace. Ukraine liberates all of its sovereign territory, Russia decolonizes, demilitarizes, and denuclearizes. Almost 200,000 likes against 90,000 likes of Elon Musk himself.
The last time Elon Musk suffered such a crushing defeat was only in the Battle of South Park.
The future of transportation is the electric car, not wheelchairs!
And since Lord Elon cannot lose an argument, the bot attack entered the chat right away. If all these replies are made by bots, then Musk's feared AI apocalypse is much closer than he thinks. But Musk doesn't want to hear anyone or anything. His logic is as follows. Russia has 3 times more population than Ukraine, so Ukraine, in his opinion, will definitely lose. Which doesn't take into account 60,000 Russians who already fucking died trying to occupy Ukraine.
Great! Offer a UN-supervised vote, and if Russia refuses, then war it is.
Now we're talking. If Russia refuses this genius proposal, then you can have your World War III. Fuck it, says Elon Musk. You only get one solution, which is incredibly stupid, will kill millions of people, and will never work. And I'm not talking about colonizing Mars here. But the shitstorm reached its peak when the real raid boss entered the chat.
Which Elon Musk do you like more? One who supports Ukraine or one who supports Russia?
Of course, everybody loves pro-Ukrainian Musk, so Elon almost immediately replied to Zelensky that he supports Ukraine, but Why is there always but? Of course I'm against pedophilia, but what were they wearing, those sweet little nice lovely kids? Well, you got the vibes. But Musk is sure that Ukraine's military victory, which is becoming increasingly real lately, can harm both Ukraine and the world. Unfortunately, intelligent thoughts, successful comparisons, rational arguments, all of this has been shattered by the hysteria of Musk, who is afraid that Russia will use nuclear weapons, because it's a Twitter fight with a drunk guy sitting on a toilet, not an Oxford debate. The truth is though, that escalation is happening already. It happened on February 24th, and the reason for it was not the provocation of the West, it was the opposite.
Но так как в 2014 году они приняли это решение, и хорошенько им по роже мир не дал, они пошли дальше. И дальше, и дальше.
And that's true. In fact, the strong response from the West since 24th of February helped to de-escalate. Ukrainian military wins, not diplomacy and great peace ideas, prevented the fall of Kyiv and enabled the liberation of several regions and resumption of grain exports from Odessa. And if you think that the best deterrence from the use of nuclear weapons is succumbing to nuclear blackmail and letting dictators invade and commit genocides whenever they want, then I have some bad news for you. That's what brings the nuclear apocalypse closer. Instruct your child to give lunch money to the school bully on every request and see what happens. Spoiler, bully won't be like, okay, that's enough, I'm bully, but I have my codex of dickheadness. Is Musk a useful idiot? Or is he just an idiot who decided he knew politics better than anyone else? Or is he just a troll having fun on Twitter? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter when every such statement harms the common cause of fighting Russian aggression. Every statement like this is a game on Putin's side. Whatever the motives of such statements, the price is the lives of Ukrainians and the very basic possibility of human civilization to prove that its values are somewhat different from those of the wild animals. Thank you.